Tino's journal, Erich addresses a scandal, Rachel leaves the live finale with a surprise guest, and Zach Shawcross is named the Bachelor of Season 27. Casting went in a new direction and selected a mildly interesting white dude who has a celebrity uncle. Bachelorette Season 19 has finally ended.
Ow, ow.
I am Liz Donatelli, and my co-host is Tiffany Current. You are watching Romance Recap, a weekly talk show on the Reader Seeks Romance channel that reviews and discusses dating reality shows. We are deep diving into part 2 of the season 19 finale of The Bachelorette, which was, in my opinion, the best Gabby and Rachel episode ever. Tiffany, thoughts?
This episode, I'm going to just label it messy and mean because there was so much messiness and the producers are straight up mean. Like the cutaway shots, I was like, whoever does this, they must hate Rachel and her family. Messy and mean. Messy and mean this whole episode.
Yeah, there were some things, we'll talk about it later, that were brought up or delved into that I felt was really kind of wrong.
Yes. Yes. A lot of this was wrong. A lot of this episode was wrong.
It was, but man, that 2 hours flew by because I was riveted.
So I feel like let's start with what Jesse said, because I think that's a good way to segue into what happened.
Yeah.
Will this end in love or will this go terribly wrong? Jesse.
Yeah.
Oh my. Anyway, Jesse did so much. I don't know I know he's reading off cards, but come on, let's be a little human here. This was ridiculous. We all know it's going to go terribly wrong by Rachel's face, the whole episode.
Face, and the fact that there have been spoilers running all over the place about what happens. Honestly, I love Jesse, but man, he poked and prodded at their open wounds.
It was a scab, and he's like, I'm going to just pick that sucker off until it bleeds. And it bled. It bled. I was like, it's off. Let's get into it. So we start with Rachel right after the breakup with Avon. She runs to Tino and she says, "You're the last one left." And so happy and excited. Mm-hmm. And then he says, "I know I can trust him." And I was like, cut to Rachel's mom and dad. And I thought, whoever is editing this is a dick face, because that is so cruel. Yeah. So cruel.
The mother was so taut in her face. She was like, I can't even make him, like, because I don't want to let on what happened. And
I thought her teeth were going to crumble by how much she was smiling, clenching. I was like, she's going to break her face. She's going to break her face.
She was eating her face. And the dad looked like he might have even taken some medication to calm down because he looked a little glazed. And Rachel, the whole time in that little square where they're focusing on real time, Rachel, she is totally zoning out and she has these hard stares. I'm like, something bad happened. What is it?
When I watched her face this episode, I never thought this till this time, she could really knock somebody out in a fight. There is so much anger inside of that little body. I saw it all in her eyes. I'm like, she is going to legit hurt someone. It's crazy.
Yeah. I did notice the same thing. And I said, wow. I said, she could be the total opposite of, we usually see her so bright and sunny. It's like, she could go completely.
She went to the dark side, man. She's going dark.
Yeah, for sure.
But so then we get to Rachel in a white dress. She's waiting there. Tino shows up. He's looking great and cute. And she says that she loves him. He says that he loves her.
Yep.
And they get engaged. And he says, this is never going to go away.
Yes. He kept reiterating, I'm going to love you forever. Yes. You are the only person for me. She's saying, I feel 100% chosen by him. And he looks her dead in the eye. What a sociopath. And he's just like,
I don't think he's a sociopath. I think I have my own interpretation as to what happened.
Okay.
I think he legit was in love with this girl. And I think she was maybe kind of in love with maybe the idea of the engagement in general. But she accepts, they ride up on a white horse, cut to Jesse.
Yes.
So what's happened since? Jesse with like the bombs of like just bringing people down. And then Jesse says, so what happened?
Rachel admitted that they are no longer together. Rachel said they had gone through a difficult time and that then she started getting a little evasive, but we learn a little bit more later. She says that, they were having some issues that she believed they had moved past and they seemed to be, going well together and everything was fine. And then Tino kept expressing concerns to her about past relationships coming back, coming forward. And she's like, oh, okay. But he kept mentioning it. And then he finally reveals, hey, I cheated on you.
Yes.
And then according to Rachel, he immediately said, oh, I wish I hadn't told you.
Yeah, she was distraught, to say the least, sharing this publicly on camera. And what was even worse is that then we cut to their actual breakup. We get to see in real time, not real time, maybe a couple days past them breaking up.
Okay, I have so much to say about this because here's the thing is that, I have to say for the first time ever, I am totally on Rachel's side. I felt her frustration throughout this episode, but I also say, but she okayed, or they both okayed it, I suppose, for the moment of them kind of duking it out about, hey, let's have a sit down about what happened, what actually happened, Tino. They had it filmed. They had it as recorded. And I'm just wondering why. Like, it almost looks like Tino might have been right in his claims that, oh, you just wanted to make me look bad on TV. I don't know. Although what Tino did was not right. But I start to wonder, is like, why are we making this a production? Why is this a whole segment? I mean, did you question why that had to be a segment? I mean, I'm glad because I loved watching it.
It was dramatic and we can go into it. My opinion was, I think Tina was correct where she was cheated on. She was publicly humiliated. Yeah. And she wanted to publicly humiliate him by making him talk about it. Okay. So I think in that specific case, Tina was correct that he just wanted to publicly get him to admit what he did so that he will look bad. And that she will look better. That's what I think it is.
All right. I wasn't sure because I wanted to believe that wasn't the case. But then I said, she certainly could have said to the production staff, like, yeah, we're not going to tape this.
Yeah. We broke up. It's done. But she's like, no, I want to tape it. But let's get into it. Yeah. We see Tino going to Rachel's house. And this is the first time I've ever seen his hair smudged. He looked really like depleted. This is the first time I've ever seen Tino look depleted. Yeah. In the beginning, I believed him. He did look depleted at the beginning.
Yeah. It seems as if the hair and makeup team was like, yeah, we're not taking care of it.
We're like, we're taking a break from you. You fluff it up yourself. And so he comes in, he sits down and she's like, I want to know what happened. And he goes back through the whole story where basically he met up with this girl who he had met before the show and they shared a kiss, just a kiss. But he said immediately after it happened, he stopped. He realized he was making a mistake and he knew that Rachel was the one. And that's when Rachel started to go in on him.
She did.
Which is her right. She started to go in like, why did you do this? Why is this happening? Yeah. And as you said, Tino starts explaining why he did what he did because she kept saying, why did you do this? Why did you do this? I'm thinking he just told you why. But he's like, let me pull out my journal and go through the receipts.
Okay. Can I just mention the journal he was holding looked as if it had never been opened before. If you look at it, it looked brand new. And I'm like, why do I feel like there's nothing written on this page? I don't know. Like, I think after the fact, he just wrote it in the journal to make it look like, oh, I've been keeping a journal. But no, he just wrote down that one sentence that she said.
Here's my thing, though, about the journal. Okay. People who keep journals for these situations, either A, are keeping it because they are distraught. Right. And they write in journals, or B, they're keeping it because they know they're going to need the receipts because the person is crazy. I think it was a joint combination. I don't know when he got the journal, when he wrote in the journal, but I do think he thought at some point, I need to write down what she's saying because she's going to turn this back on me. And he had a bunch of things that he said.
It sounds as if you're kind of Team Tino on this.
He cheated on her.
Yes.
It was just a kiss, but he did cheat. But it does take two people, as you said, and I think in previous conversations, two people to get to that point in the relationship.
Yeah.
And he did explain with his reasoning was the fact that, she was saying like, I'm not really in the mood to be in a relationship. I'm not sure if I want to get married. I think maybe we should date. She was telling him, like, I need to potentially go to therapy. This isn't working for me right now. She was specifically telling him that our relationship is not something I can focus on. She never called it off. They never said they were on a break. So it was still cheating. He still did cheat. But I see his perspective of he was feeling like really down on himself, low self-esteem. Here comes this girl who's just like, I really like you. He makes out with her. And then he's like, okay, crap. So I do see his perspective. He cheated for sure. But I saw his perspective. I don't know, man. Yeah, the journal was of note. I did think he does not seem like the type of person to have a journal. So that was of note. I think that was his dad saying, you better keep a journal. This girl is going to ask you to show you proof. You need a journal. I think his father told him to get a journal and take notes.
So it boiled down to his saying, well, I kind of thought we were over, or you, Rachel, were speaking as if we were over. So I figured, oh, okay, I guess I could meet this chick and give her a kiss, but then he felt bad. Then he sat on the information before telling her. He did sound like he was lying because he would say something and then say something that contradicted it.
No matter what, he did cheat. And he says later on, yes, we weren't on a break. We were still engaged. And he says, I'm sorry. And he did apologize over and over again. He said, I apologize. It was one time.
Yeah, but he would apologize. And then in justifying it,
he should have stopped it.
Right. You're right.
He pointed fingers.
He started pointing fingers, and it was like a passive aggressive, hey, but you did this, Rachel. You said this and you hurt my feelings.
He did try to yes, you're absolutely right. But he was trying to explain this. Look, I was at the beginning of their conversation. I was like, I could see both sides. And then when she kept going in of saying like, you're not even apologizing to me. You're not even apologizing to me. And then he apologizes to her and he's just like, and she's like, that's not an apology. I want to know exactly what happened. And he's just like, then he says to her, what are you trying to accomplish with this conversation? Which I appreciate. Yeah. And then once again, she says, I want to find out why you did it. And he's like, I got to take a break, y'all. I got to take a break. He gets up, he goes outside. He tries to cover his mic, but I guess the producers must have brought over another mic.
I guess he was trying to cover it and then he tried to rip it off. He is telling the producers, she just asked me here so she could just, make me look bad. And he's like, why doesn't she just break up with me? Just have her break up with me already.
Yes.
Let me out of here. Get me out of here. So, now I think I don't know if she heard it because was he still mic'd? Because she's like, I can't believe this is happening right now. What is,
I know. I saw her reaction, but I understood his perspective because he's just like, I have been through this. It's like when you're in a breakup and the person keeps asking you to repeat yourself. It's like, I legit just told you this 3 times. Me saying it for the 4th time is not going to make it different. I've already apologized. The point is, he was like, I felt bad for him in that specific moment because he's just like, just let her, just break up with me. Just have her break. He was like trying to get out of prison. And she was like, I'm holding the key. You're not getting out of here, sir. But you're stuck in here talking to me.
I'll be honest. I still think he's a bit of a sociopath though. I don't know.
I don't think he's a sociopath, but I will say this. He comes back inside. They go through the exact same conversation again. And she says like, I don't believe you that it was just one time. He's like, it was. And then he goes outside again. He takes another break.
Second break. Yeah. He's like, I got to go.
And which I appreciate in a way, because he's probably thinking like, if I'm going to be in here with her, I'm going to say something I'm going to regret. I got to leave the situation. He gets up, he goes outside. She follows him outside and he's on a phone call and his shirt is open. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I noticed that too. It looked like he was taking a sexy phone call. I think it's because he had, I think he had ripped off the mic. She's like, what are you doing? I had to talk to somebody. And then he gave like the most pathetic look.
It wasn't until that moment. So up until that point, I was like, he cheated, but I understand his perspective. I'm trying to be, empathetic. But when he took that phone call, in my mind, I thought he's calling the producers or someone to figure out what he has to say so that he doesn't look as bad as a situation. Because I think at this point, he realizes we're not getting together. This is hopeless. She's trying to humiliate me. how can I cover my ass so I don't look terrible? Because when he came back inside, he started saying those lines that I feel like were clearly written for him.
Oh, really? See,
in my opinion,
I thought he called someone to pick him up because after their last exchange,
it was like an Uber call. Yeah,
he got into a car and it looked like a woman driving, but he got in the passenger seat. I think he called the woman that he kissed.
Oh no, we're not starting that rumor. I don't believe that.
Well, then maybe he called his mom, but it was a woman driving him away.
All I know is he came back inside, and when he came back inside, he said like he started saying those things that I felt like were like written down for him, that like, you know, like you deserve better. And I'm so just the way that he said it, it was said in such a way, like, I feel like I've heard those lines before. And I thought like, is this from a movie? I didn't have a chance to Google it, but it felt very like planned. And then either way, like they end it and he drives off.
Well, what's interesting, so before she says like, you know, I give up, gives back the ring, she said like, do you think you deserve me? Do you think you deserve
Yes, I recall
and
that.
He's like,
that was
I do. He's like, I do, and I love you. We can make this work, and you know, you're the only one I want. And she says, well, I give up. And he's like, well, you know, something to the effect of, well, that's your choice, but I think we could still make this work. I think she did want to trip him up, or at least ask certain questions to prove to everyone, hey, he's a liar. She also wanted to publicly get her breaking up with him because she wanted to take control of the narrative and all that. But
I agree with that. That's why I didn't quite like it, because she kept asking him the same questions. He kept apologizing, and she kept saying, you haven't apologized. He's like, I'll apologize again. Like, I want you to go through it. He's like, I'll go through it again, until he stopped the cycle. It sounds like they had some issues in their relationship. So their relationship was already in a bad place. He did cheat. He did apologize.
It did sound like she was going through something personally, because she made reference to things that she was going through.
Yeah, something was happening where it sounds like she was seeing a therapist or something, and she needed something. We don't know what it was, but something
then
was
he
happening.
said, oh, you weren't going to therapy. And she's like, well, you took that out of context. There was that one weekend I couldn't go because I was out of town. Yeah. So she kept saying you're taking things out of context, which he probably was to some degree, but it was kind of a mishmash of craziness.
It was craziness. It was uncomfortable. And I'm thinking like, oh my God. Cut to back in the studio.
Yeah.
Jesse brings out Tino. Why bring him out? We just saw them break up. She's going to ask him the exact same questions, which she did. He's going to answer it the exact same way, which he more or less did. But then she kind of got him to get a little bit deeper into the drama. I'm thinking, Tino, don't give in to her. Don't give in to her line of questions.
It was kind of unnecessary. It was fascinating to watch. Tino has balls that he even agreed to come on the show, because
he's probably contractually obligated to come, or else they're like, we're not going to pay you. Come, or we're not paying you for your time on the show.
Or maybe he thought that by he being there in person could maybe do some kind of damage control for his reputation. But the minute he came out, they were like little low claps and boos going on. So it's like, so I
this isn't a real studio audience. This isn't a real studio audience. I felt for him. I did feel for him. And I thought, good for, he came out, he apologized, he kept it calm. She went into her defensive.
Well, because again, he alluded to like, oh, but
he did allude to he did kind of push some of the blame on her, which he shouldn't have done. He should have just apologized and stopped it. But he didn't.
Yeah, she's like, oh, we were never on a break. And he's like, oh, but you know, you wanted to give your ring back. And she's like, well, I said that if we broke up, I would not wear the ring. And I was like, okay, well, why was that even mentioned?
I don't know. All I know is once again, we see Rachel's dad in the audience. I'm thinking like, if I were the parents, I wouldn't have gone. I would not have gone to sit in the audience and have my face on camera watching these two.
Yeah, interact. that was really painful, I'm sure, for the parents to have to sit through. But I think both of their memories are faulty about what the other said, because something doesn't make sense.
I think it's faulty. I think he knew that they weren't really broken up and he kissed somebody else, but then he felt bad about it and he waited 4 days to tell her. Sometimes it takes you some time to admit what happened, but he did tell her.
But it was kind of premeditated because he just randomly ran into this girl he had dated prior to the show, just randomly ran into her and they started talking.
That was probably premeditated, yes.
Yes. But so in that way, it makes him guiltier. But anyway. Rachel's
allowed to give the final say. I forgot what she said. And at that point, Jesse says, we've got another surprise. I'm thinking, if they're bringing out Clayton from last year,
is that who you thought?
So I wasn't sure yet. And I was like, oh my God, what?
I thought it was the girl that he kissed.
Oh my goodness.
That's what I thought.
We both thought it was something negative. She was off. I mean, you could see Rachel's face of like, who is this? All I know is Avon comes out. And when he comes out, in that moment, I was like, the producers are doing Tino dirty. They could have had him leave the stage so that Avon and Rachel could have had a nice interaction on stage together. There's no reason to keep Tino there for that. It didn't make any sense to me.
Avon comes out and, Avon's here. And he says to Rachel, hey, you don't deserve this. Hey, do you want to get out of here and catch up? She's like, I'd love nothing more. She jumps up, they hug, they walk off the stage. During this whole exchange, they keep cutting to Tino. And at first he kind of smiles in greeting to Avon, and then he's just like, and you just see him getting smaller and smaller because he's like,
you see him saying like, can I go now? Can I go now? Like, I get it, because it's like, this is a live production. Someone should have A, walked him off beforehand, or B, this is happening. Just stay in your seat. But they were rude. And come on, he's still a human being, guys. Come on.
It was messed up. And to be honest, even Jesse seemed really surprised. He didn't know. Well, he knew Avon was coming out. He did not know that Rachel was going to get up and leave. So now he's there awkwardly with Tino, and Tino's like, do I leave? Do I leave? So Tino's just standing there while Jesse delivers kind of his outro to commercial. And he's like, Jesse is like, I don't know. And as they broke for commercial, Jesse, I heard him say, what's happening?
It didn't make any sense. Look, that was really rude to Tino. Yeah. They screwed that up, in my opinion. Yeah. And I know they brought it Avon to kind of make it seem like she's still going to get her happy ending. And the last week, whenever we saw them together, it still seemed like he had feelings for her. So I believe Avon.
Yes.
I think she needs some time on her own to be single.
I do too.
And figure herself out before, like, Avon is a good guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure as we all saw last week, like, she realized when he was apologizing to her for saying, I just wanted to date, like, she's like, I made a big mistake. I should have just dated Avon. I wish them the best. I feel like Avon seems like a very chill person who is level-headed.
Yeah.
So if she says something crazy, he'll be like, you know what? I just think we should talk things out. He seems like a very level-headed, nice guy.
He does. He does.
Maybe 3 months from now, we could see like where they're at. I don't know.
We're going to have to, because I am curious to know how it's going to end. Whatever it is that they end up getting, it's going to end, because it does seem like she needs time alone to deal with whatever internal conflict. She needs to
deal with whatever's happening with herself. Yeah, she needs some space, man.
Yeah.
And she's a person that doesn't like being publicly humiliated, and she was publicly humiliated.
And she was very vindictive. If you look at it was a vindictive act. I feel like Gabby would not have done something like that. So
she wouldn't have. Gabby would have just called him out, and she would have walked out, because that's Gabby. I'm going to tell you how it is, and I'm going to leave.
Yeah. Gabby, let's talk about happier times. Erich and Gabby warm my heart and fill me with joy, hope, and promise. They were able to get over that hump from last week, which was Erich saying, hey, can we just date? I don't know about getting engaged. And Gabby's like, I need to be engaged to him. So there was that whole thing, but they talked it out, and she was fine with continuing with him. And, they get together. She's dressed in white too. I don't know why the two of them dressed in white to get engaged, but,
that's people dressed in white to get married.
And let me just say, during Gabby and Erich's love fest, which was basically, I love you, you love me, everybody loves each other.
We all love everyone.
The loudest tropical birds and waterfalls were going on in the background.
I don't know what it was, but it was loud. I was like, good for them for still going through with it, because they're just like, what is this loud screaming?
I think it was peacocks, because they showed the peacocks, and I've heard peacocks. They sound very high pitched. At one point, it sounded like someone was opening up squeaky doors, and and then the water in the background. It was so loud. I'm like, oh my God, this is driving me crazy. So bad. They made their proclamations to each other, and they laughed. They have, such a playful relationship. And
they
then
have a very
Erich,
happy relationship. Yeah.
yes, they do. And Erich drops to his knee and proposes, and she says yes.
He proposes.
Yeah, it was very sweet.
Then Erich comes out. They kiss a very long time until Jesse says, "This is ABC guys." There are kids watching the show.
That's right. Erich joins Gabby on stage. Yeah, it got steamy. It got very steamy with the kisses.
It got steamy. They talked about the relationship more or less. Everything's going great. Erich had to, I guess, respond about the text messages that came out from a woman.
Please. Then, Jesse's like, it hasn't all been, fun and games. Whatever dramatic thing he said.
Not everything is perfect, and I have the proof.
And then, so they mentioned, now I thought they were going to mention, first of all, his father dying, because at the end of the episode featuring his family, at the end it did say,
that's right. That's interesting.
So, so I thought I thought it was all a bunch of buildup just to say, they're dealing with the grief of his father.
Yes.
But no, apparently, and I thought it was going to be about the blackface picture.
It wasn't about the blackface.
It wasn't about that either. So I was like, what is this? So
you're like, what's this other scandal?
What is this scandal? An ex-girlfriend of Erich's shared texts online saying he broke up with me so that way he could go on the show. And apparently they had been dating a short time.
At that point, that's when Jesse says, and we have the text messages up on screen.
Yes.
And I was like, what are you doing?
Oh my God.
And I wrote the close-up of the text messages. The blue book,
that was awful. And then he read them. Didn't he read them? Didn't Jesse read them aloud?
Yes. And I was thinking, like, come on, The Bachelorette. Come on. You put it up on screen. You're having him read it to his face. And these were, let's be honest, very innocent freaking text messages. It was before the show.
Yeah.
It was just him saying, more or less, breaking up with the girl over text, saying like, yeah, I know the show is kind of fake, but I'm gonna just go on and see what happens. These are very harmless text messages. Come on.
Yes. And let me tell you, every single person who has ever been involved in any of these shows, they all are hoping for a little bit of fame and fortune.
Yes.
Okay. So Erich was
with the exception of Jason.
I still don't know why he joined the show.
He never came back on the show. So
it's like Jesse was trying to rake Erich over the coals, and even was like, Gabby, how do you feel about this? And she's like, listen, what he did to her, he was an ass.
Yeah, she admits it.
And he owns it, and we're working through it, and he's very apologetic, and he's sorry, and he's learned from this. And he also reiterated, listen, at first I did go into this experience thinking, I'll just see what it's about, not really thinking about falling in love or anything. And he goes, and it 1,000% became true that, I did fall for Gabby, and everything that you're seeing right now is true. And we're kind of getting to know each other in real life and navigating the usual pitfalls of being a couple outside of, the cameras, which that's a controlled situation. And then we learned that Gabby is on Dancing with the Stars, which
I had no idea. I was like, good for her. That's amazing. Good for her.
It ended on a positive note. And the next Bachelor for season 27 was announced, and it's Zach Shallcross.
It's Zach.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be, as you said, as we discussed off camera, boring and very humdrum. I guess he's got a celebrity uncle, so they figure, hey, we can have him on for some episodes, and that'll be
maybe
fun.
He'll do like the voiceover for the show or something. That'd be very exciting. Right. I'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. But what's interesting is I had read that there was some financial issues going on with Zach's family, that Zach had told his dad to invest in, I don't know, cryptocurrency or something.
And he lost it all or something.
And the dad like lost his retirement or something. And but here's the other thing. Okay, so then they's like, oh, Zach's the new Bachelor, and we have a surprise for you. You're going to meet the first 5 ladies, and we're going to do the first America's First Impression rose ceremony, where America votes on which lady you should give.
They were just filling time. It
was like, unnecessary, and it was so cringe. Oh my God.
Well, Zach is cringe, unfortunately. I think that whole season's going to be cringe of like, this is really awkward.
It is, and I have to admit, and this makes me feel cringe to admit it, I think I'm going to watch the first episode.
Oh my God.
Season 27.
Oh, yes, that is cringe.
Like, it was so cringe at the end.
Oh no.
It was so like, oh my God, he's he's not very well polished, and he doesn't seem very confident totally. And the ladies who came up to him, they must have been hyped up on Red Bull, because they all came out like very hyper. And it was if you can watch it, I know you didn't watch that, and
I'll have to go back. When they got to Zach, I was like, all right, and then I ended it. I was like, I did my part for society. I can't watch Zach. He's so boring to me. Zach seems like a nice guy, just not that interesting.
Yeah, I feel like he'll cry a lot during the season.
Yeah, maybe, but nothing that I want to see. It's not like it's gonna be good tears. It's not like when Nate cried, or like when even Tino cried. It's like, I don't mind seeing those tears.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be like a boring cry, like, oh, I don't know what to do. Tear.
He said he's ready to move on and find love after this big heartbreak with Rachel that just happened a few short months ago. And he said that heartbreak makes him even more determined to find his person. Yes, to find his person and fall in love. He kept saying he wants to fall in love with his best friend. And I've got issues when people say that. Fall in love with your best friend, because no, your committed partner should never be your everything. It should be, it shouldn't be that, wow, he's my partner for life and my best friend and my confidant and my adventure buddy and my movie buddy. Like, you need space. You need some space away to fill different roles.
Yeah. Otherwise, that's really exhausting for that person. Like, again, would have to be this other person too.
No, it's true. There you go. We don't even need to go into any more of that. But I am so glad that this season is over.
It's over.
It's exhausting to watch 2 hours a week. Do you know that it was 24 hours of episodes we watched? 24 hours, 12 episodes, 2 hours each. We spent an entire day of our lives watching this show.
It feels like it.
Tiffany, in the words of Rachel Recchia, I'm done. To love.
To love.